For me, art, yeah, it's a beauty, but also it's a responsibility. We have like a language. I think it's good to use it.
So Diala, could you tell us a little bit about your life and how you became an artist?
Yeah, I don't know. I of course, like many stories, I was drawing when I was a kid. But when I grew up, I tried to study different things, but whenever I studied something, I didn't finish it. So in the end, I decided like to do art, but I didn't want to study fine art in a fine art college. So I did self-education, and I was in animation company in Damascus, and I got my first training there. It was really very helpful. So yeah, I started in the beginning. I started with animation. Unfortunately, what influenced my artwork is what is happening in Syria in general. But of course, like just being part of this culture and this society, it helps me a lot to express it better. Like before, I used to work mostly on TV shows and commercials. I wasn't really satisfied. It was kind of frustrating for me to do this kind of art. But when a Syrian revolution started in 2011, I didn't start immediately to participate with my art. I was doing different things, but in 2012, it became like really, for me, it was a big need to express how I feel about it. So I started with this, and when people, they were looking at it and sharing this with reports. So I discovered like how could art be important as well to spotlight on what is happening. So I became more engaged with my art according to the events in Syria. What art adds to the photograph is like it gives it like different layers of understanding. It gives it like emotional layers and like symbolic layers. And this is something you can't really find it easily in a photograph of something happening in the war. And people, I think they are getting really tired even from seeing bloods everywhere and destruction. I believe that people, they were never in the war zone and they feel tired, so how about people, they are in the experience itself? But to deliver it in a better way, you need to find a different kind of language, let's say, that people can really interact with it and they can understand it.
I was just wondering, how has your own life, your own experience, your own family, how has that influenced your art?
Actually, I lost my brother in the war, and that really changed a lot of things in my art and my life. Like me and my sister, we promised to change it in a positive way. So if you see also upstairs, there is like stars and there is like a moon, and they get tangled in the end because things are getting complicated. And one of the star like flows down, so I wrote my brother's name on one of the stars. So I like to put my personal feeling in the work I do, just because I know what losing really means, and we share this with other people. So I think, for me, this book is not just a project. It means a lot to me, and it's mixed between my personal experience and other people's experience. And if I didn't feel it really strongly, I won't be able to illustrate this.
And the work that you're presenting here in Michaelhouse, both of these projects are actually part of books, so they have a narrative behind them. Could you tell us a little bit about these projects?
Yeah, recently I work mostly on either like political aspect or like alternative education. So this book, for example, it's in Italian. It's written by Francesca Manocchi. She's a journalist. She works in war zones, and she interviewed 4 kids from refugee camps in Syria, in Lebanon, and she made their stories in a poetic way to fit in a children's book. So it's just to tell the story, what kind of difficulties these kids they have to face. So they are prevented to get their education even outside of Syria. I mean, people they think like maybe if like Syrian refugee they get out of Syria they are finally safe, but this is not necessarily true. For example, Syrian refugees in Lebanon, they suffer from different kind of difficulties. And I think the most important thing is like kids, they can't go to school for many reasons. They can't be received by Lebanese schools, all of them, and their parents, they are not allowed for them to work, so they have to send their kids to work, and there is child labor, and there is marriage, child marriage. So the economic situation really is a big force to prevent kids from going to schools in neighboring countries. So this book is about this. I think it's very tough for other kids, but sometimes I think like when we were kids, we were reading Oliver Twist as a literature. So this is coming from reality, and it might create some empathy between kids themselves as well.
So the other project is about Sierra Leone.
Yeah, like there is a nurse. His name is Tim Cunningham, and he works also with Clowns Without Borders. So he used to go a lot to, I think still, to Africa, and one of his projects was taking care of kids. They have Ebola in Sierra Leone, and that was really a tough experience for him. He told me like once, sometimes they know that if they are not able to even save their lives, but it's just to give them decent death. So he noticed that kids there, they have like very simple way to create their toys and play. So one of these toys, they used to make kites from plastic bags. So he also did it in a very poetic way, symbolic. So when there is a lot of kites in the sky, that means there is a lot of kids, but the kites, they were going less and less because kids, they were dying. And he linked this with even burning the fields because this makes it stronger. So when it grows stronger after being covered with ash. So he used this symbol to give hope, like after death there will be always life again. So also this book is a bit tough, but it kind of poetic, and there is hope in the end. If someone is really suffering a lot everyone is suffering from the war, but kids, they are the future, and if the war stopped in Syria, it's just a piece of land. They are Syria. If they didn't survive with a good education, I don't think we achieve anything by just having wherever kind of peace in this area. We really need to take care of education, and this is the only way to stop the war and any kind of war in the future.